Okay, hello everyone. This is a short discussion on the elements of strategic audit. Now, before we go to the elements of strategic audit, okay, first we have to discuss what is a strategic audit. Okay, now take note, no, we have to understand that this is a process in business strategy. Now, we are going to have a separate discussion on business strategy, no, but as of this point, no, tatlo lang yan eh. Okay? Normally, we have, ano na ba yung tatlo? You have your corporate strategy. No? Ayan. Let's write them down. You have your corporate strategy. Tama ba yung spelling ko? Okay, and then you have your business unit. Yan, business unit strategy. And then you have there's one more. No, you have the operational pala yata yun. You have the operational strategy. Okay, now when we say corporate strategy, although we're going to have a separate discussion, no, on business strategies, as of this point, I just want to emphasize these three. Okay, anyway, this is just a review. These are already discussed in other management subjects, no. So yan, now when we say corporate strategy, this one is concerned with the overall, how do you call that? Overall purpose and scope of the business, no? To meet the stakeholders' expectation. Now when we say stakeholders' expectation, dito na papasok yung discussion natin on basic financial management and finance, okay? Like for example, you have, aside from profit maximization, no? Okay, you have your maximization of shareholders wealth. Okay, and then you have the maximization of strategic value. Okay, so those are your basic corporate objectives. Okay, now you also have your business unit strategy. When we say business unit strategy, this one is concerned more with how a business competes successfully in a particular market, no. Normally it concerns strategic decisions about choice of, yun na yung na-discuss naman niyo sa marketing, like the choice of product. Ayan, how do you meet the needs of your customers? Okay, how do you gain advantage over your competitors? Or how do you exploit or create new opportunities? Okay, so normally your business unit strategy will focus on, I'm saying normally, no, normally it will focus but not limited to your marketing strategy. Okay, so dito na po papasok yung mga product, place, ano po yun? Promotion, you have the price, okay, for each business unit. Okay, and then you have the operational strategy. This one is concerned with how each of the business is organized to deliver the corporate and business unit level strategic direction. So normally it focuses on the issues of resources, the processes, and the people. Ayan, dito napapasok naman yung mga, if you remember your Ishikawa diagram from other subjects, no, sa accounting system analysis and design, that's one. Also the Ishikawa diagram is discussed in your basic management subject, diba? You have the different resources there. Okay, you have your 4 M's. Ayan, so yung mga yun po, that's the focus of your operational strategy. Now when I say focus, okay, it's just the meat, but it's not limited to. Ganun. And if we try to read other management books, especially yung mga advanced, no, for basic management kasi, normally we look at this separately, pero once they come into action, they are actually integrated dapat yan. Okay, so ayun. So a strategic audit is actually a process found in business strategies. Okay, so naka-incorporate po siya dito. And it's focused on ensuring that resources and Competencies are understood and evaluated. So again, no, every time we talk about resources, no, I prefer to use the Ishikawa diagram. Ano po ba yung Ishikawa diagram? Ito yung ginagamit natin to analyze, no, problems in an organization. Okay, so ito yung fishbone diagram. So isusulat mo dito, what are the problems? Okay, so maybe slow accounting system, okay, low revenues, okay, slow increase in the trend of your net income, okay, and then from there you're going to identify yan, 4 major resources, your 4 M's. So you now have your inputs, or you have your materials, okay, and then you have the manpower, okay, manpower, and then you have your methods, okay, for our intangibles, and then you have math. Then meron pa yung isa, you have your tangibles, you have your machines. So these are actually your 4 M's. In some books there are 5 M's, okay, pero bakit 5 M's daw? Because you have the money, okay, but eventually, no, if you try to analyze your money, kapag ginamit yan, it will become any of these. Magiging manpower yan, materials, it will go to your machineries, or it will go to your methods or methodologies. So I prefer to use the 4M. So these are your basic resources. Again, we have a separate discussion, no, on the resources for strategic audit, okay. Anyway, hindi naman parang discussion, actually parang i-review lang natin. This subject is 95% review of old concepts coming from other subjects. Okay, so when we talk about resources, just to summarize, think of 4 M's. What are these 4 M's? You have the materials, manpower, the machinery, and then your methods. Now, when we say materials, we are actually referring to your basic inputs, okay, used in the production, okay, or in the process of coming up with the end product or service. Okay, when we say manpower, okay, these are your HR resources. When we say methods, okay, these are your policies and guidelines, okay, pertaining to the intangibles. Now, we're not talking about intangible assets, no, in financial accounting. Those assets that doesn't have any physical characteristics, okay, but are reported in the financial statements. I'm not just talking about that, no. When we say intangibles, they may or they may not refer to financial resources. Basta resources sila. For example, your policies, your guidelines, no, yung systems that are being used in the company, sometimes they don't have any monetary value and they don't have any structure. Okay, wala siyang physical characteristics, but they are considered as resources. And of course, if we have intangibles, you also have your machineries, okay, which is another term for your tangibles. Now, when we say machineries, I'm not just talking about machines here, no, used in the production. We're talking about tangible assets. Those resources, okay, that are structured. They have physical characteristics. Ganon. Okay, like your buildings, ayan, ano pa ba, your delivery equipment, okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are your 4 M's. Now, for competencies naman, what are competencies kasi? Competencies are, oh wait, before we go to competencies, okay, in some books, no, dito pala muna tayo sa resources. In some books, this is just divided into 3 pala. You have your F, H, P, okay, your financial resources, human resources, and then physical resources. Anyway, we're going to discuss this soon when we go to resource management. Now, going back to competencies. What are competencies? These are, how do I simplify this? These are actually your, when we say core competencies, This is what sets, hindi. Let's try to simplify this further. This is what you can provide, okay, which cannot be provided by the other members of the market or by your competitors. No, I'm talking about the competitive edge pala. Now, competencies is what you need to provide your competitive edge. I-illustrate na lang natin para madali. Okay. Let's try to visualize. You have your market or your customer or target customers, and let's just say that this is the demand or the expectations of the market. Okay. Now, impromptu lang tong drawing na to. I'm just trying to visualize, okay? So, if this is the needs of the market, and then this is the industry where you belong, okay, this is what the industry is providing. Ito yung nasasatisfy na area. Tama po? This is what is being satisfied by the industry. Now, you are a part of the industry, okay? So, let's say this is you. Ganyan na lang. Ayan. So, this is you. Okay. So, this area right here, no? This area right here is actually where competition is harsh. Tama ba? Harsh. Extensive. Extensive or intensive? Basta intense. Ayun na. Intense ang competition. Why? The industry can provide this. Okay, and you can provide this. So ano to? This is what your competitors can provide but you cannot provide. Okay? This is what your competitors and you can provide but it's not needed by the market. This, okay, is your competitive edge. Something that you can provide which your competitors cannot provide. Okay, so dito ka dapat mag-focus. Okay, and the capabilities, the resources, ayan, just to summarize, no, ang haba kasi ng discussion sa competencies. But if you try to look at the substance, okay, these are the resources, ayan, your capabilities, okay, what is found in you, okay, that supports this. Ano ba ang meron sa'yo? Bakit kaya mong i-support ito? Okay, so parang for example, if you are a tutor, no, ayan, you are a personal tutor. Okay, you are the only one who is patient. Okay, you are the only one who is available 25 hours, 8 days a week, if that's possible. Diba? So, ayun. Okay, or you make yourself available anytime. Okay, which is not found in your competitor. So, that is now your competitive edge. What you have to support that competitive edge, okay, is now the focus of competency management. Okay, so what about this? Okay, so what about this? This is what we call your potential. Okay? Nandito yung ating potential. This is what you can provide, okay, which cannot be provided by the industry, and it's not yet, no, it may not be needed yet by the market. But, okay, kapag naging need na ito ng market, okay, you can actually market this. Okay, and this will become part of your competitive edge. Okay, so ito yung mga priorities natin, no? This one, okay, your competencies to support this, and then your competencies to support this. Okay, because this will be your competitive edge. Okay, so parang ganun lang. Anyway, let's continue. We'll have a separate discussion for that. Now, some preliminaries before we go to the elements, no? The essence of business strategy is all about choices related to competition. Okay, so going back, choices related to competition. Dito, may competition dito. Okay, extreme competition. Ayan. Sometimes, okay, you want to improve your products and your services so that you can also provide this area right here para magiging mas competitive ka. Okay? So, ganun. That's how you visualize, no? If a company is competitive, it means that it can also provide what the others can provide. And what is providing, okay, is needed by the market. Okay? So, ayan. If your services are found in this area, you are competitive. Okay? But if most of your services are here, or the services provided or products provided are found in this area, that's now your competitive edge. Ayan. Oops. Let's go back. Okay. And, okay, these choices will affect your, ayan, yan, your strategic thinking and decision making. Ganun lang naman kasimple. Pagkatapos ng napakaraming textbook at pag inintindi mo yung substance, okay, the business strategy is just about choices. Okay, and these choices will be most of the time focused on or will affect our strategic thinking and decision making, which is highly affected or dependent on the business environment. Now, when we talk about business environment, we have the top-down approach, no? Okay, so ayan, maraming gamit yan. You have your economic environment, okay, the economy where you are operating. So you have the Asian economy, the Philippine economy, okay, and then followed by the industry. So let me write that down. Economic environment, and then you have the industry environment. So this is now your competitors, no? Okay, the industry where you belong to. So for example, okay, if you are into food and beverages, okay, so that's your industry, food and beverages. Okay, kasama na dyan yung yung mga competitors mo. And then you have the company or business environment, okay? This one will focus on your operations. And of course, when we talk about business environment, okay, you have the internal environment and the external environment. Okay, so this one is your internal environment, and this one is your external environment. Okay, sometimes this is known as your macro environment, and this one is part of your micro environment. O di ba, may economics ka na, may management ka na, may marketing ka pa dito sa discussion na to. Di ba? May accounting ka pa. Okay? So, ayun, now when it comes to geographic location, ganun din, top-down pa rin. You have your global environment, okay? And then you have your global/regional environment, national, and then you have your local environment. Now, what are these, okay? In your internal environment, here you will have your SWW, no, your strength and your weakness. Let me write that down. You'll find here your strength and weakness dyan sa internal. While in your external, you have your opportunities and you have your threats. So now you have your SWOT analysis. O diba, ibang subject na naman. Okay, so yung SWOT analysis pala, umiikot lang sa micro and macro environment na dinidiscuss sa economics. Those economic concepts or factors, okay, are actually the factors affecting your strategic thinking and decision making. Ayan. Now, cheat sheet, no? Ito, kailangan nyo lang tandaan. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this slide is that, ito, yung mga naka-yellow. Okay? To be in a position to exploit, not just use, not just to take advantage, okay? Not just to abuse. Mas matindi. To exploit. Ayan. Mas intense to, no? To exploit opportunities or respond to threats. Okay, now take note, opportunities is from an external environment. Okay, external yan. Okay, threats, external pa rin yan. A business needs to have the right resources and capabilities in place. And when we talk about resources and capabilities, most of the time, you find this in the internal environment. Okay, so, ayun. Kung naintindihan mo na yan, malamang na-review mo na yung SWOT analysis from your strategic management subjects. Okay? Ngayon kung na-review mo na yung SWOT at naintindihan mo siyang mabuti, okay, you're now going to align that, no? Align that with the discussion of vision, mission, and objective in other management subjects. So far, no, you already have enough knowledge to understand the following discussion, which is focused on the elements or stages of strategic audit. Now, in some books, there are 8. In some books, there are 12. I prefer this approach, no? Ngayon, kung may nabasa man kayo which is not listed here, okay, it may not be listed here but it may be classified as one, okay, of these elements. So, isa-isahin natin yan. You have your resource audit, value chain analysis, core competence analysis, performance, portfolio, and SWOT analysis. Okay, let's starting with your resource audit. The resource audit identifies the resources available to a business. Now, when we say resources that are available to the business, they are not necessarily owned. Okay, but they are available, no? Like for example, okay, resources that you can borrow, no, from a provider or from a supplier. Okay, so ayun. Dahil some of these can be owned, nandito pala diniscuss ko pa. They can be owned, whereas other resources can be obtained through partnerships, joint ventures, or simply supplier arrangements with other businesses. This is actually one chapter, no, in, I think, management 2C dati in our time. Pero at the end of the term, okay, you can summarize the subject into one phrase or this chapter into one phrase. Ano yung objective niya? Diba? You have this question. Do you have what you need? And then, do you need what you have? Ayun lang naman, okay? So, if the objective of an activity, okay, is related to this question, that activity is related to resource audit, no? Which is different from, basic, asset audit na ginagamit sa, sa financial statement presentation. May term sila doon hindi asset audit. Okay? But anyway, paano ba 'yon? Yung kunyari, pagbibilangin mo lang yung yung pera, okay, kung tama ba yung naka-reflect sa financial statement natin. Tama, financial statement. Feeling ko financial statement analysis yung nasabi ko kanina. Financial statement lang pala. Okay, so kung tama ba yung naka-reflect sa financial statement, sige, basta bilangin nga natin yung pera or i-check na natin yung inventories. Hindi lang ganun, no? Hindi lang ganun ang resource audit sa strategic audit. Resource audit is when, kunyari, you have a certain objective, no? This is our objective, this is our project. Okay, and then you try to check, will we be able, ganun dapat. Ang hirap mag-English. Will we be able to provide this objective or to provide these services with our existing project? Okay, so mag-i-inventory ka. Ito yung existing. Ito yung kailangan. And then you look at the gap. So, di ba yun yung first question? Meron ba yung mga kailangan natin para may provide natin tong mga pangangailangan natin sa project na to? Di ba? Or sa objective na to? Okay? Or, kunyari, do we need what we have? No? Nakita ko may gap. Ito yung kailangan para makapag-operate tayo. Ito yung meron tayo. So, kailangan mo ba talaga kung ano yung meron tayo? Okay, so that's part of your resource audit. Okay, ang dali lang ng resource audit, di ba? Okay, so nakatipid tayo ng isang chapter. Next chapter, you have your value chain analysis. Okay, normally this element or this stage describes the activities that take place in a business and relates them to an analysis of the competitive strength of the business. Ang haba naman. Paano ba natin ito i-shortcut? Describes the activities. Yan. Relates them. Okay. Competitive strength of the business. Okay. Basically, there are two activities kasi. Babalikan ko yan, ha. You have the primary activities and then you have the support activities. Yung primary activities, these are actually the most important activities, okay? They are value adding, kaya siya tinawag na value chain. The more we invest in these activities, the higher the value that we can deliver, okay? Ang pagminsan, 6 yan, pagminsan, 5 yung activities na yan. Yung 5 is what I can remember. Yun yata yung, wait lang, it starts with the inbound eh. Dapat pala may kodigo na ako. Pasensya na pag medyo mabagal. Next time gagawa ako ng kodigo para mabilis tayong mag-discuss. Inbound logistics or inbound activities. Okay? Like for example, purchasing, okay, mga acquisition, okay, and storage. Okay, so you have your inbound and then followed by your operating activities. Okay, followed by your operations, and then you now have your outbound. Ito yung 5. Ayan. Outbound, marketing and sales. Pag minsan hinahati ang marketing at saka sales, marketing and sales. Pero this time, pwede na natin pag-isahin. And then you have your services. Dapat kung ang ginamit natin dito ay yung kay Michael Porter, okay, hindi services yan, hindi lang services, these are after sales services. And then doon sa inbound logistics, no, you have before that you have your R&D, research and development. Magre-research ka ng product, okay, and then may prototype ka na, ayan, na-test mo na siya, so purchase ka na, and then mass production ka na, delivery, market mo na, and so on. And then yung after sales service mo, okay, and then lahat ng mga information na makukuha mo sa after sales service, magiging input ulit yan pagdating sa research and development para nag-i-improve lang ng nag-i-improve yung product natin. Kapag nakita nyo yung symbol na to, this is called chevron, no? This symbol in flow charting is called chevron. Yung part na yan, it represents that it needs, this is a process which needs an input, okay, coming from another process, and etong arrow na to, okay, it means that this process will have an output which is needed by another process. Kaya pag nakita mo yung value chain analysis, yung activities natin nakaganyan. Inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, and so on and so forth. Okay, so yan. And then if you try to summarize that, mahahati na naman to sa iba't ibang so iba't ibang areas. Okay, so kunyari isang ganyan lang. Isang malaking ganyan. Then we divide this into 2. Nandito actually yung mga primary activities mo. Ayan, kunyari 5 yan or 6. And then nandito naman yung mga secondary activities mo. Okay, also known as your support activities, like for example your procurement. You have here your HR, the infrastructure and development, technology development, and so on and so forth. Okay? Pag minsan nakalagay dito yung accounting, yung mga ganun, because these are just support activities. When we say support activities, the company can still provide its products and resources, products and services, kahit wala yung support or secondary activities. Okay, so yun. Primary activities, sila yung mga nakafocus doon sa value ng products and value ng mga services na provide natin. But kung ba ito dinidiscuss? We have a separate discussion on value chain analysis. Okay. Actually, there are a lot of discussions in YouTube. Pag nakahanap ako ng mas maganda ang boses at mas maganda, mas kumpletong materials, what pa ako gagawa, di ba? Baka ibigay ko na lang sa inyo yung mga links. Okay po? Now, as of this point, let's just summarize, no? Under strategic audit in value chain analysis, you try to describe the activities and then you have to categorize them. If these activities are primary activities, yung pinaka-importante, or if these activities are just support activities. Titignan kasi natin, maybe most of our resources are invested in support activities pala eh. These are not value-adding activities, you know, like for example, no, you can have the best facilities for human resource management. Di ba, ang ganda ng office ng HR, ang mahal-mahal ng sweldo ng mga nasa HR. But then again, that will not improve the quality or the value of your products. Dapat dito ka mag-invest sa mga primary activities, no, para tumaas yung value ng products mo. One way of identifying which activities are best undertaken by a business and which are best provided by outsourced by others, yan. Other value chain analysis. Ano yung i-outsource mo? Siyempre, yung mga support activities. HR, accounting, okay, so yung mga ganun. What is best undertaken by activities? Ay, by the business. The primary activities, those that are value adding. Okay, so ganun lang naman yan. So, in 3 words, the value chain analysis, okay, is when you try to identify the activities, okay, and tada, you should know how to prioritize the important activities. Hindi yata 3 words yun. In 3 words, ayan, prioritizing important activities. Ayan, that's the main objective of value chain analysis. And then you have your core competence analysis. Those capabilities that are critical to a business in achieving competitive advantage. So, naalala nyo kanina, ano ulit yung competitive advantage natin? You have here the market, no? Yan yung needs nila. This is the industry. These are your competitors. These are what your competitors can provide. Okay? Okay, and this is what you can provide. Your competitive edge is, or competitive advantage is, this area. And this is now your potential competitive advantage because you're the only one who can provide these products and services. Okay? Starts with recognizing that competition between businesses is as much a race for competence mastery as it is for market position and market power. Ayan. Ang haba naman ng sentence na to. Diba? Now, when we talk of competition, this is, this will actually dictate. Dictate, there's a better term for that. Masyado yata mabigat yung dictate. This will identify your market position and market power. Ayan. And, again, to simplify market position and market power, we're just talking about this, no? How much of the market's demand can you satisfy? Okay? And the more na nasasatisfy mo yung demands ng market, you are in a better market position and higher or better market power. Ganun lang naman yun. Senior management cannot focus on all activities of the business and the competencies required to undertake them. Diba? So, pag minsan, lahat yan, may mga activities tayo, no? May mga activities tayo, pero hindi pwedeng pantay-pantay yan. Like for example, in this area, if you have limited resources, why focus on this area right here? Ano ba yung area na yan? This is what you can provide and what your competitors can provide, okay? But it's not needed by the market. So, tanggalin mo na muna yan. Okay, eto. Kulang ka pa rin sa resources, then medyo huwag mo na muna i-prioritize eto. It's not yet needed by the market. Instead, you just focus on this area. Now, under traditional competition, some would say, dito tayo mag-focus para maging competitive tayo. Because this is what our competition is providing. Pero sa modern strategy, sabi, well, that is a red ocean. Yan. Kung nabasa nyo na yung red ocean, blue ocean, no? The blue ocean strategy will focus on this area, right here, wherein wala kang competition. Ayan. So, Grabe yung mga libro na binasa natin sa minor, mga minor subjects mo, major subject pala siya ngayon. Okay, so the goal is for management to focus attention on competencies that really affect competitive advantage. So the goal is to focus on this area. Okay, so doon naman tayo sa performance analysis. After defining the strategic capabilities, okay, so how do you define the strategic capabilities? Alam nyo na yan, hindi nyo lang alam nyo na pala, okay? In defining the strategic activities, you have 3 stages. Ano yung 3 stages na yon? Yung mga nauna kanina, no? Okay, so what are these? You have your resource audit, value chain analysis, and then you have yung last ni, ano nangyari? You have your core competency analysis, okay? After these 3, you are now able to define the strategic capabilities of a business. Questions that can be asked to evaluate the overall performance of the business include, di ba? Ilan to? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 na chapter yan sa management books ninyo, okay? How, if the question is, how have the resources deployed in the business changed over time? Ito yung historical analysis mo, okay? So if your objective is to answer the question, how do the resources and capabilities of the business compare with others in the industry? Oh, by the way, take note ha, yung mga sagot dito, most of the time, no, can be derived under these 3 areas. Okay, so how do the resources and capabilities of the business compare with others in the industry? This is now your industry norm analysis, okay? And then how does it compare with the best in class or best practices? Ang tawag dun ay benchmarking. Okay, and how did you financially perform? So, you know how your financial statement analysis or ratio analysis. Okay, so that's now your performance analysis. Ayan. Gagawin nyo lahat yan. Now you have your portfolio analysis. Okay, now when we say portfolio, this is actually a group of asset, no? Kapag nandun tayo sa investment management na subject o kaya sa MAS. Okay, portfolio is a term used to describe a group of asset that is managed as one or managed together. Ngayon dito sa strategic audit, it's not just a group of asset, no? But a group of businesses. Okay, which are also assets naman. A business unit is actually a group of asset. Okay, so a business unit is actually a portfolio nga eh. Pero if you try to look at a larger context, okay, a group of business units is now called your portfolio. Okay, now sa investment management, a portfolio is a group of investment or assets. Investments are also assets, so parang pare-pareho lang. And our main objective here is we should be able to strike a balance of the strategic business units. Hindi pwedeng pare-pareho ang emphasis, no, sa mga business units mo, especially if you are diversified. Excuse me. Iba-iba yung nature ng mga business units mo. Hindi pwedeng pare-pareho ang pagkaka-emphasize natin sa kanila. Operations in more than one market segment. Okay, so titingnan natin yan. Kasi pwedeng 50% of your business units are found in, let's say, sales and marketing. The other 30% is on research and development. O, diba? Research and development. And then, nandun naman tayo sa yung 20% is more on, after sales. Okay, so yung mga ganun. Production, and so on and so forth. And then, dito may encounter natin yung term na diversification of business units, or pagdating nga sa finance or investment management, no, pag sinabi nating diversification, this is actually a process, no, when we try to minimize the overall risk. Okay, when we say risk, okay, or ayan, that's your standard deviation. Okay, we're talking about the overall risk of your portfolio. If you remember from investment management, also in finance, no, ang basic decision rule kasi natin for an asset, no, and for portfolio decisions is that, well, the lower the risk or standard deviation, the better. O kaya, the higher the return, that's the average return. That's the symbol for average return. The better. Pero, axiom number 1, doon tayo sa finance. Axiom number 1, meron tayong trade-off palagi. The higher the risk, it will result to higher return. And vice versa. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na trade-off. Kasi favorable ito, magiging unfavorable yun. Or kung bumaba ito, that's favorable, pero bababa rin ito. So, that's unfavorable. Okay, now, sa portfolio naman, okay, may mga strategies tayo kasi, no, para ma-balance man lang or ma-optimize yung trade-off between the two. And one of the strategies is through diversification of asset, wherein you can minimize the risk for every return, no? For every return. Ayan. Ayun lang. So, you have to spread the risk. Okay? Hindi natin to titignan individually. Okay? You look at them as a pair. So, given assets or portfolio, o asset na lang muna, given assets that has the same level of return, you choose the asset with the lower risk. Given assets with the same level of risk, you choose the asset with a higher level of return. Now, if you can add an asset in your portfolio, okay, which will reduce the overall risk of a portfolio, that is a good asset. Or if you can add an asset which is able, no, to increase the return of the portfolio, then that is a good asset. So, ganun lang naman yung concept ng diversification. If you have these different assets in your portfolio, okay, before you add a new asset, okay, before you add this new asset, tingnan mo muna, will the asset result to a lower risk or will it result to a higher return? Sir, paano kung sabay? Okay lang as long as overall, no, the risk for every level of return, okay, is minimized. Okay, so again, that's another subject. Okay, parang dalawang chapter na yata yun sa finance. An important objective of a strategic audit is to ensure that the business portfolio is strong and that business units requiring investment and management attention are highlighted. Okay, so that is important. Okay, ito yung kailangan ninyong tandaan sa area na to or sa slide na to. A business should always consider which markets are most attractive and which businesses units have the potential to achieve advantage in the most attractive markets. Okay, so pag sinabi nating markets, it could pertain to a geographic location, no? Like the Asian market, the Luzon market, European market, so ganon. Or it may also refer to, let's say, a certain class of customers, no, like the students, okay, if those are your target market, no, the student market or the employed, okay, so mga target market mo rin yung mga yun, those are still considered as markets. Okay, so dapat alam mo which business units have the potential. Babalik ka na naman doon sa ano na yun, sa competencies, no, competencies analysis. Okay, they have the potential to take advantage of the most attractive markets. Now, maraming models to, no, pero most of the time ang mga ginagamit na models for portfolio analysis, this one is actually an assignment, no. Magbasa kayo, no, your assignment for next meeting. So hindi ko kayo i-meet next meeting kasi ang dami yung assignment. Aside from this, meron pa which I will discuss, no, in the chat box. So you read on what is Boston Consulting Group portfolio matrix and what is the McKinsey General Electric Growth Share Matrix. Okay. Pag-aralan niyo yan kasi baka magamit niyo yan kapag nagsulat na kayo ng paper ninyo. Okay po. So, ayun. And then you have the SWOT analysis. Patapos na tayo. The SWOT analysis is an abbreviation of strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Ginagamit pa rin yan sa mga iba't ibang sites hanggang ngayon. Although may mga nakita kong authors, may updated version na yan. What's the updated analysis? It's called TOS analysis. It's the same. Anyway, in this area, you just identify what are the strength and weaknesses. If you remember, ito ay internal environment. You also identify your opportunities and threats, no? This is from your external environment, okay? Initially, your strategies will focus on using your strength to overcome the weakness. Okay, so if the question is, how do you use this strength to overcome the weakness? Okay, tapos may isasagot ka dyan. Yung isasagot mo dyan is actually a strategy. No, like, for example, ako, ano weakness ko? Slow learner ako. Madali akong ma-distract. Ayan. Kunyari, after 5 minutes or 4 minutes lang, wala na, hindi na ako makapag-focus. That is now my weakness. Ano yung strength ko? Ay, masipag naman ako magbasa. Okay, so, ayun. Dinadaan ko na lang sa sipag yung kabobohan ko. Okay, so, how do you use your strength to overcome the weakness? Aba, since short lang yung attention span ko, sisipagin kong mag-aral. Okay, magbabasa ako madalas every 5 minutes, no? 5 to 10 minutes, magbre-break na ako kasi alam ko hindi ko na kaya. So, basa ulit, break ulit, basa ulit, break ulit. Okay, so, ganun. I'm going to read and in between, I will have plenty of breaks. Okay. O di, ayun. So, that is now one of my strategies. Okay. Next, how do you maximize or optimize opportunities and minimize the threats? Oh, by the way, I'd like to discuss this kasi palagi nating nai-encounter ito. At pag minsan, madalas mali yung pagkakagamit. Pag sinabi nating maximize, dumami, madagdagan, no? Like, for example, maximize your revenue. Dapat malaki, nadadagdagan yung revenue mo. I-maximize natin yung space. So, dapat marami kang space na magagamit. Pag sinabi naman natin optimize, susulitin. No, not necessarily add, pero you focus on the utilization. Parang ganito, i-maximize natin yung text. O, di ba? Yung naka-budget na text natin. So, kung may naka-budget ka na 100 pesos para sa text messaging, kailangan magamit mo lahat yung 100 pesos na yan. Kahit hindi mo kailangan. Pag optimize, susulitin mo naman. So, for example, lahat ng 100, i-unli text mo yan. O, di ba? So, yun yung na-optimize. Normally, ang maximize may pertain to variable cost, no? Okay, something that is it can be changed, okay, by a decision. Pag optimize, most of the time we're talking of fixed factors like a fixed cost. I-optimize natin yung rent, i-optimize natin yung yung unli text or unli call natin. Okay po? Okay, so ayun. Now, if the question is, how are you going to maximize or optimize the opportunities para ma-minimize natin yung threats, okay? Nang sagot mo dyan, that is also a strategy related to your external environment. So, mag-isip nga kayo ng ng example nito. Kunyari, ano ba yung threats natin ngayon? Threat, yung pandemic, no, nakakatakot lumabas. Bakit? Kasi baka magkasakit tayo. Ano naman yung opportunity natin? Pwede naman tayong mag-online or pwede tayong mag-aral online. So, paano ma-optimize yun, di ba? So, i-optimize natin yung mga online na resources natin para hindi tayo ma-expose sa pandemic or ma-expose sa sakit. Lahat na lang online, pati shopping, ganun. Instead na pupunta ka sa mall, Lazada na lang. Pati sa mga resources, instead na pupunta ka sa library, o di, i-google mo na lang. O, diba? So, yung mga ganun. And then, how are you going to use the strategies? Eto, no? Yung strategies for strengths and weakness to exploit, not just to use or to abuse, diba? To exploit your opportunities. Okay, so sige nga, i-try nga natin. Paano ba yung example ko dito kanina? Every 5 minutes, mag-break ako. Ang strength ko is masipag ako. Okay? Sisipagin ko na lang, pero madalas akong mag-break kasi short yung attention span ko. And then, I'm going to do that online. Okay? Para hindi ako magkasakit. Parang ganun siguro. Okay, anyway, if you try to put that together, those are now your strategies. Okay, lilista mo yan. Tapos, i-check mo. Are these strategies still in line with your vision, mission, and objective? Okay, so, ayun. Paikot-ikot lang tayo. If not, or kung may questionable, daanan mo ulit yung mga iba't ibang stages na to. Okay, so, ayun. And I guess that's it. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. No, again, I'd like to emphasize that for the first meetings during the week, this is allotted for synchronous activities, and then for the second portion, that's for asynchronous activities, yung mga assignments natin, researches. Okay, I suggest, or I prefer you ask questions during our first sessions, yung mga earlier days natin. Although I'm not discouraging you naman, I'm not discouraging you to ask questions during asynchronous activities, Okay pa rin yun. It's just that I cannot guarantee na masasagot ko kayo kaagad. Okay po? So, I guess that's it. Okay? Ano ba yung mga kailangan nating malaman? Wala ako sa mood na magpakita ng mukha ko ngayon, kaya mag-drawing na lang ako. Feeling ko ganito yung itsura ko ngayon. Okay, so makapal yung bibig ko. Yes, there goes my DIY haircut. Ano ba? And hindi pa ako nag-shave. Okay. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.